Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We begin first with a quick recap of this past weekend's severe weather event, where you're seeing here the storm reports from Saturday, the 5th of March. Of course, we had the really nasty supercell that came into parts of south central Iowa that went right across the state here. But then all of these severe wind reports that we saw to the north. We brought in extremely heavy rain back into parts of the mid-south into the eastern Corn Belt as well as the system came through. We are starting to get some more information about how powerful the supercell was that produced those tornadoes into this area. And the National Weather Service did complete some of its surveys of these tornadoes, and they've got a few of them done. Where I got this, I just went to weather.gov, clicked right up here. I clicked on the state of Iowa, and then clicked right up here on the March 5th central and southern Iowa tornadoes. And what you can see is that one that went through Madison, Warren, Polk, and Jasper counties has been rated as an EF4. It was on the ground for almost 70 miles and produced winds that were estimated to peak at about 170 miles an hour. This was a very devastating event over the weekend. There were several lives that were lost because of this. I just want to bring up an important point. Unlike last year, we do expect a very active severe weather season from the south into the mid-south, into the southeast, and the Midwest. That's an area that we're watching carefully. Now, after these severe storms went through, we got some snow on the backside. So through early this morning, you can see the snow that came in on the backside of that low, which right now is finally moving through parts of New England. But you look back over the last 72 hours where we added up some snow, a lot of it in the Central Rockies and the Front Range, and then better snows as we forecast into this area. Now we need to see if we're going to add more onto this, because our current year-to-date precipitation stats still show us this broad area, in through here, where since the beginning of the year is quite dry, and it's centered right here on Nebraska and Kansas, and some of those locations having a top 2, 3, 4 driest start to the new year. The drought that's been ongoing down here, let's include Florida into this as well. This is all going to change very quickly this week. But we need to ask questions about when we're going to return moisture to the southern plains and California, up into parts of Oregon and Idaho, Nevada, and Utah. The big missing component of the jet stream since the start of the new year has been that subtropical component, which unfortunately is common with a La Nina. We need to talk about that in a few moments. But these 130s, that means that's the driest start to a new year on record. All right, our records go back to 1893. We can see all of this playing out in soil moisture. Now, we've made some correction in this area, and you're going to see here, we're going to see possibly some more snow coming into that region. But over the next several weeks, this is the area of drought we need to see shrinking. Very wet in through here. A lot of this, we're going to be seeing some good changes on this coming very soon. But in the West, I'm afraid that the drought situation, we're running out of time for a good shift over to a miracle March pattern or an amazing April that can just deliver what we need to cap off this season. So I expect with the next drought monitor, which will release this Thursday, we'll start to see drought expansion in the West. We still have 72% of the country in some form of drought. And as I said, this is an area I'll see improvement on right away. I think we're also going to see improvement here. But throughout the coming weeks, we got to watch the southern plains. We got to watch this getting back into Montana and keep a close eye on what's happening in the western United States. So the new long-range European weeklies were just released. We got two different things. We have the new 45-day outlook, and we also have the brand new 7-month outlook, and I'm going to talk about both. Let's go first into the near term of those two, which gets us out to April 15th. Now, it was no surprise, given what the models are doing with the mishandling of the MJO, that they went over drier in this area. I think it's biased way too dry. I believe that we have a better chance, and if you want to know why, watch the in-depth video, a better chance of seeing a southeastern ridge. And southeastern ridges tend to get the jet stream to make a quick move, drawing more moisture back into this area. So I'll just kind of draw this line right here, kind of in and around the Red River Valley of the south, but Oklahoma and Texas, And I think we're going to see better moisture in this area than the models are showing. All right. We expect it to stay very active throughout the eastern Corn Belt, the Great Lakes, into New England. But without a subtropical component to the jet, there's just nothing there to deliver the moisture. All the flow comes in around the highly variable Pacific jet into the northwest. So I can reason this away, but I'm going to tell you what it takes to get here is we have to have a ridge setting up in this area, okay? And to do that, the MJO has to go back out into the Central Pacific. And it is not exhibiting behavior like it wants to do that. And the big reason is because our La Nina has made another little surge. It's trying to fade, but I've been doing a terrible job predicting the fading of it. It's still making a big trade wind push right in through here. And that's what's moved the MJO back over into this area, really centered right in through here, rather than letting it come out there, which would promote a big ridge over the south central United States. So we're going to watch this La Nina and keep a close eye on these temperatures, which we've been discussing a lot about the temperature pattern along the west coast of North America and the fading La Nina as being keys to figure out where the pattern's going to go. So this is brand new data. Let's go look. Right now, we see that our La Nina, which peaked in December, has got this secondary peak now at the beginning of March. And then it's expected to fade through spring, getting into neutral territory by the beginning of summer. The newest runs have come up with a much larger spread on where this is going to go into fall. Now, the likelihood of a returning La Nina next year is low. Just historically, that's low. But do we just go into full-blown El Nino? I don't think that's the case either. We need to get past, it's about right here, what we call the spring barrier in forecasting. That's where we start to see the jet stream respond to the spring forcings, and that will tell us what we should be expecting. And that spring barrier is there for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest is just the gain of daylight hours in the northern hemisphere and its impact on the temperature patterns. So we're going to watch that very carefully. But that being said, I'd now like to show you what the models are doing by summer. Before, there was a much larger area of warmer water coming in here. Let me just show it to you. The previous run, look at that. The previous one was also colder in the Gulf of Alaska. The newest one is not. So that means that the onset of an El Nino, right into this area, has been slowed, and these ocean temperatures have moderated. We still expect warm water in the North Atlantic. That points toward possibly another active hurricane season, among other things. But what's really important about this, let's go in and just zoom in on the United States, is if I look out there, let's do seasonal. I don't care, let's go straight to summer. The models have split this right on the Mississippi River, where they have continued to favor above average precipitation east and expanding drought west. Now there's a problem. This is all an initialization issue. It was initialized with low soil moisture and drought here. It was initialized with cold water in the Gulf of Alaska and off the west coast and a La Nina. And the net effect of all of that is to persist, and that's what it did. Now, you can tell that the model is going to be bringing in some heat early. How can I tell? Well, possibly May into June, expect above average temperatures in the southwest because the models are indicating another strong southwestern monsoon. And then they probably move this ridge farther to the west and north, extending it into the central plains, meaning the flow comes over the top and then dives into the Great Lakes and comes out like this. So better storm activity here, but this might be biased right into this area to dry as well. Now, remember, these models exhibit very little skill in forecasting out several months. What you're seeing here is the result of the current conditions. So that's why I'm going to make a statement here. You gotta watch this with me very carefully. If spring rains wipe this out, then everything you just saw is out the window, no longer applies. That's the key. We also need to watch the Pacific. Can we get the jet stream to turn around and deliver southwest flow into California? If it does, that will eliminate the drought risk there in a huge way as well. But as you can imagine, if it does end up giving us this, the temperature pattern for summer is currently looking very warm in through this area. Now, we kind of skipped a season, didn't we? Can we just go back and take a quick look at spring? Now, there's no way that this model can predict your last frost. But April, May, and June, see how it's persisting with this area being active and drier in through there? That's all just based on persistence. So we need to see if we can break through this, because that's also where you can imagine it's going to keep the warmest conditions. So we're already planting in Texas. This is indicating a very mild start to the year and through here. So let's watch it carefully together, and we'll keep an eye on it. Short-term forecast. Right now, this afternoon, we've got severe storm watch out for this large area here in parts of Pennsylvania, and then high winds all throughout New England on that system that came through Iowa the weekend. It's kind of moving into the northeast today. Flooding on the backside. With the next system coming through, I'll show it to you next, we do have the risk of snow coming in through this area, and that's why we got winter storm watches and advisories out. First things first, the severe storm threat here. You're going to see as I play this forward that on our high-res NAM model, good, we got the 18Z run in, we're going to be seeing, let's refresh that. There's the 18Z run. we're going to see here a line of storms this afternoon and this evening running through this part of New England. There's the main frontal boundary, gets over the Appalachian Mountains, and then it pushes out this evening. Now behind it, Arctic high comes in, and the front sits right in through here. And what we're going to see is that's going to continue to sag south, producing the snow in the Pacific Northwest, see it? And ahead of this, some overrunning right here. Now watch them both. Keep your eye here, maybe one eye there and one eye down here. As we play forward, you see the rain spreading here through the Appalachian Mountains out of the lower Mississippi River Valley as the next system tries to take shape behind it. So we keep playing this forward, we end up bringing the first system ahead, the front's still back here, the coldest air into New England, going to spread some snow there. That system's out. And our next one starts to spread its snow right into parts of the Central Plains. But over the next 10 days, this is what the precipitation anomalies look like. Our wettest conditions are in the southeast. They're in New England. We're drier, finally on this side of the Mid-South, but too dry down here in Texas, through Kansas, into the western Corn Belt. Yeah, we got snow coming in here, but it's not much liquid in that. And we just keep splitting right here on this part of the I-5 corridor, right? You get south of that line right there, we're missing the subtropical component of the jet stream. So I'd like to add all this up for you and show you what we're going to get. So through Monday into Tuesday, let's stop here on Thursday. So the next two systems are delivering quite a bit of heavy rainfall, and that's why I said we're going to start to have corrective action on the drought down here. And we're not done. We go into the weekend, there's a third push. See that? That's a broad area in through here, and I should draw that farther south into Florida, that we're looking at better than 1 inch to 3 inches of total precipitation. We're just drier most places west of there. And if we go take a look at that on our multi-model analysis, GFS on the left, European on the right, we've already seen this system, so it clears New England tonight and off the East Coast by tomorrow morning. We then have the push. This is the one that hits the southeast and parts of the Mid-South throughout the day on Tuesday into Wednesday. And then that system pulls through the Mid-Atlantic. So we've seen that in the high-res models. Now let's bring our attention back here. Through Wednesday night into Thursday morning, snow spreads out in parts of Kansas, Nebraska, southern Iowa, Missouri, and eventually into Illinois. See that? And then by the time we get into Friday, we're going to start to see the shortwave elongate itself like this, give us some overrunning precipitation, so not a severe weather threat here. But as we go through the night on Friday night into Saturday, I'll be watching to see if we can get some stronger storms over the southeast. The GFS is fast with the advancement of the front. But there appears to be the potential for some heavier snows here. But this is just a single operational model run. So what do we actually get out of it? Let's go out and look at the ensembles. All right, that's the first push we already talked about. The snow coming into New England now, plus the second wave that comes through, delivers our best chance at picking up at least 3 inches of snow there. But I just want to make a point that the ensembles are not so keen on that last system delivering all the snow you saw in the previous run. We do have a large area here that's not adding up the snow. That includes the headwaters of the Missouri River, which still don't have much snow on them. Better snow throughout the central and northern Rockies, but down in the Sierra Nevada, we're not seeing it. No subtropical jet. I want you to keep an eye out here on the 17th to the 20th, and it's this little wave right there. You see, from the 17th through the 18th, 19th, and 20th, that little wave moves from the southwest over to the mid-south. And I'm concerned that as it comes through, these little subtle features can sometimes produce a quick hitting but possible severe weather outbreak. Now, the ensembles aren't going to show it very well. So this is the week 2 precipitation. They're much wetter in the northwest where you can see deep troughs keep coming in. But I'm going to watch that one as well. Again, that's late next week into next weekend. We got to keep an eye out. So we're all the way out here to the equinox, by the way. Okay, let's now go with temperatures and we'll be done. Temperatures today, we've already seen these very warm in the mid-Atlantic to New England, but that'll be replaced by colder air by Tuesday. The next big shot at cold air, watch this, from Tuesday into Wednesday. Very cold air sliding down here, pushing up against the mountains, and that presses on through the country Thursday into Friday. There's Saturday's temperatures and Sunday. But as you can see, already by day 7, we're clearing that colder air out to the east, and the models are still showing that. See, pushing it east. So this is day 5 through 10. And out there day 10 through 15, both the GFS and the European are favoring more mild conditions for most of the U.S., with the coldest air coming out of the Canadian prairie to the Red River Valley of the north. Now, very quickly at the end, I just want to bring something up. The 10-day forecast on precipitation. I got a South America video coming out very soon. But let's go to Europe. Drier, a little bit drier than average in Ukraine, but southern Russia more active than normal. What's concerning me about this area is that for the first time in a while, we're getting quite cold anomalies showing up in the forecast. Now, I know it's March, but still quite cold for this particular region. But come back and take a look at the heavy rains we're still expecting in parts of Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria right along the East Coast. We saw already at the end of February some storms set up right here near Brisbane that put down almost 800 millimeters of rainfall in about a week. So just to let you know, that's like almost 30 inches of rainfall. It's a little more than 30 inches of rainfall. Where I live, that's 3/4 of my entire year's worth of rainfall they just got in a week. So we're having some flooding problems right now happening in Australia. Okay, that's it. I'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks.